I used to believe silence was peaceful, but now I know it can be suffocating. Ethan and I barely speak anymore. We move through the house like strangers, careful not to brush too close. He comes home late, leaves early, and never asks me anything beyond what's necessary. Sometimes I wonder if we ever loved each other at all, or if we just got too used to the routine. Liam came back from college last week. I hadn't seen him in months, and when he walked through the door for a moment, it felt like I could breathe again. He smiled the same way he did when he was younger, soft, uncertain, like he was always holding back something he wanted to say. He hugged me longer than expected. Maybe I held on a little too tightly, too. Ethan barely acknowledged him. Just a glance and a grunt before disappearing into his office. Liam looked hurt, but didn't say anything. I didn't either. I was used to it by now, Ethan being there but never present. Dinner was quiet, like always. I watched the two of them across the table and felt like an outsider in my own home. Rachel, my closest friend, called that night. She asked if I was okay. I told her I was just tired. She said, "You've been tired for 3 years, Maya. When are you going to admit something's broken?" I didn't have an answer. I never do. Later that night, I was asleep, or at least trying to be. I heard my door creak open. My body tensed. I didn't move. I thought maybe Ethan had finally decided to say something, maybe even apologize. But it wasn't him. It was Liam. He stood there in the doorway, just watching me for a second. Then he stepped in, slow, like he wasn't sure if he should. He whispered. I thought I heard something. I asked if he was okay. He nodded but looked unsure. "Bad dream," he mumbled, almost like he didn't believe it himself. I told him to go back to bed. He stared for a moment longer, then turned and left. I laid there, wide awake, staring at the ceiling. My heart wasn't racing. It wasn't fear. It was something else I couldn't name. Something that shouldn't have been there. And I hated how long I kept thinking about it. The next morning, neither of us mentioned what happened. Liam acted normal, maybe too normal. I kept waiting for a sign, an apology, an explanation, but he just asked if I wanted coffee. I said yes, even though I'd already had 2 cups. Over the next few days, we slipped into a routine. We watched shows together at night. He told me about campus life, his friends, his classes. I listened more closely than I should have, not because I was interested in the stories, but because I missed being heard, even if I was only the one listening. Ethan barely noticed. He was busy, as always. Another business trip was coming up. When he told me, I just nodded. I didn't ask where or how long. I didn't care, and neither did he. One night, a storm knocked out the power. I lit candles in the kitchen, and Liam joined me. We sat in silence, watching the flames flicker. Then he said, "I don't know if I should have come back this summer." I asked why. He shrugged. "Doesn't feel like home anymore." I didn't answer. I felt the same way. He looked at me carefully. "The night I came into your room, I thought I heard you crying. I wasn't sure." I said I wasn't. He paused. "I think I just wanted to make sure you were okay." I told him I was fine, but it was a lie and we both knew it. Then, without thinking, I reached out and put my hand over his. It was instinct, comfort, whatever you want to call it. He didn't move away. I didn't either. A minute passed before I realized how long I was holding on. I let go. Ethan texted that night. Delayed. Might be gone all week. I didn't respond. Rachel called again. I ignored it. I didn't want to hear another warning. Not yet. I didn't want to explain something I couldn't explain to myself. Later, in bed, I remembered Liam's voice in the candlelight, the way he looked at me. I tried to tell myself it was harmless, just misplaced affection, that I was reading into something that wasn't there. But a part of me didn't believe that. A part of me had already crossed some invisible line, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to step back over it. I woke up sweating from a dream I couldn't fully remember. All I knew was that someone had touched me gently, held me in a way I hadn't felt in years. I wanted to believe it was just a dream, but the warmth in my chest lingered too long. That day, I tried to act normal. I folded laundry, wiped down the counters, kept busy, but my thoughts kept drifting. I hated how much I looked forward to hearing Liam's footsteps down the stairs, how my stomach tightened when he smiled. I told myself it was just the silence between Ethan and me playing tricks on my mind. That Liam was just filling a space Ethan had left vacant for too long. But the more I repeated that, the less I believed it. That evening, I was getting ready for bed when Liam knocked on my door. I opened it, and he looked startled, like he hadn't expected me to answer. "Sorry," he said. "Wrong door." But we both knew it wasn't. I nodded and closed the door slowly, heart pounding harder than I wanted to admit. Ethan called the next night. I let it ring. I watched his name flash and disappear. There was nothing left to say. Rachel dropped by unannounced the following afternoon. She sat on my couch, looked around, and then pointed to Liam's hoodie draped over the armrest. "You two getting close?" she asked, half teasing, half accusing. I didn't answer. She kept going. "You're playing with something dangerous. Even if it's innocent now, it won't stay that way." I told her nothing had happened. She stared at me. "Maya, infidelity doesn't always start with sex. Sometimes it's just giving your heart to the wrong person." Her words landed like a slap. After she left, I sat with him for a long time. I wanted to argue, to defend myself, but I couldn't, because deep down, I knew something inside me had shifted. Not out of lust, but out of longing. That night, I avoided Liam. He noticed. He asked if everything was okay. I said I was tired. He didn't push. I laid in bed and wondered when exactly things had changed. Was it when he walked into my room? When I let my hand linger? Or was it earlier, when I realized I'd stopped thinking of Ethan altogether? And more than anything, I hated the part of me that wasn't sorry. Ethan came home 2 days earlier than planned. No warning. Just walked through the front door while I was in the kitchen. He looked around like he was trying to catch something out of place. I didn't ask why he was back. He didn't explain. That night, we had dinner together for the first time in weeks. The three of us. The air was heavy. Liam barely spoke. Ethan kept glancing between us like he was trying to read something written on our faces. I felt exposed, even though nothing had been said. After Liam went upstairs, Ethan stayed behind. He poured a drink, then finally looked at me. "Is there something I should know?" His voice was calm, too calm. I held his gaze. "What are you asking?" I said. "You tell me," he replied. "The silence in this house is louder than it used to be." I could have denied it. I could have said he was imagining things. Instead, I said, "I've been alone for a long time, even with you here." He stared at me like that answer was worse than any confession. "Did you cheat?" he asked. My throat tightened. "No," I said. "Not like that." He nodded slowly, but there was no relief in it. "Even if nothing happened," he said, "it still feels like you left me a long time ago." Later that night, I found Liam packing a bag. "I shouldn't be here," he said quietly. I didn't stop him. I couldn't. He looked at me once before closing the door behind him, and that look held every word we never said. The house felt hollow the next morning. Ethan didn't speak to me. We moved around each other like ghosts. I found myself missing the sound of Liam's voice, the comfort of his presence, the attention I was ashamed to crave. I went to see Rachel. She didn't say, "I told you so." She just made tea and sat with me while I cried. I told her I didn't understand how I got here. She said it happened slowly. You go looking for warmth and forget the cost of where you find it. Later, I pulled out an old photo of me and Ethan. We were smiling, arms around each other, before life became survival. I stared at it, trying to remember if that version of us was ever real. And for the first time in years, I wasn't sure if I wanted it back.